So hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today we are going to see how we can add the limbs and fin to our fish. So if you see the final result that we are going to get from this video, and if you watch the previous video, you will be able to see that we have worked on the body, and now we need to work on these fins, right? And the tail of this fish. So how we are going to implement that in our body, right? So let me show you what we have achieved in the part 1. So if you haven't watched the part 1 of this video, if of this series, procedural animation character series, you need to watch that first. So please watch that before watching this video. So if you see here, we have reached this point of the fish. So we have created the body for the fish. Now we need to add the limbs and the tail in our fish. Okay, and this is very tricky, by the way, so it will be hard to figure out on your own. So let me help you. So this is our fish body, right? And now, so what we are going to do is, first, so we are going to follow the 5 steps that I am going to tell you, and we are going to apply all these 5 steps to get the final result, right? So we will be able to get the final result with our fins and tail. So let me show you all these 5 steps so you can see here. So we are going to do this with presentation here. So you can see that the first step is to generate the points for limbs and fins. So first step, we will be going to generate some points for the limbs and fin. Fin is the tail here of the fish, right? And we are going to attach the limbs and fins when the scene will run. So let's go for the step 1 first. So you can see the step 1 here. So first we need to generate the points for limbs and fins. So how does this thing will work? So in the previous video, if you have seen here in the code, if I show you, let me show you the code. So we have already generated these points for the body. So similarly, we are going to generate the points using for loop, and we are going to add line to the nodes here, and we are going to set the values to line to the node each by each iterating, and we are going to set these values, right? So that's how we can generate the points, and we also want to attach these points onto the body, right? So for that, let me give you a very solid example of how it will work. So this is the body. Let's say this is the body which is made up of points. We saw that in the previous video. And now let's say this is the left limb, right? This is the left limb. So how we can attach this in this body here? So in order to attach this, we are going to do very simple thing, which is, let's say this is a list or array of packed vector to array of limb left. So the first point of this limb will act as the anchor, and we will attach this limb left point of the 0th point of this packed vector to array to the first point of this body. So this is the body list or the body array, you can call it. So this body array first point, so we are basically going to attach this point to the body of one. And similarly, we are going to do the same for the limb right point. We are going to attach this limb right point to the body of one point. So what we will get after this, so this is the body, and we are going to get, this is the limb left point, and this is the limb right point. So we are going to get something like this here, right? And for the tail, what we are going to do, so let's say we have this similar structure for the tail, and we are going to attach the tail of of the 0th value, which is this point, to the second point of the last second point of the body. So we are going to do this to create a tail. And that's how we are going to add fins and limbs to our fish. So let's see how the we are going to do. So you can see here, this is our body and this is our fin, and this is the body vector 2 array, and this is the limbs vector 2 array. So what we are going to do, we are basically just attaching the limbs of the this one, we are basically attaching the limbs of the 0th point to the body of the first point. So that's what we are going to do, and this is the code. So you can see here in the previous video I have already told you that we have generated some points um, by using this. So let's get started by applying the step 1. So the first thing we are going to do is we need to get the line to the node here, and we need to set this as limb left, and I'm just going to duplicate it, and we are going to set this to limb right. And now what we need to do is we need to import them onto our code. So we will just drag them here. Okay, so now we got these limb. Okay, this should be limb left, and this should be limb left as well. So now we got the limb left and limb right on our code. Now we need to change these value. So for that, I have this code. So this is creating the points for the limbs. So this thing will create the points for the limbs, which I have already told you in the previous video. If you haven't seen that, please see that. And in that video, I have told you that we are basically setting the values of the vector2 array, which is this. So you need to click on the each of them, and you need to set how many points you want. So for example, I want 5 points, so let's make it 5, and do the same as well here. We want 5 points, so let's make it 5. So basically this is iterating each point like 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it is setting these values to each of the points. So the first point will be like 2 and minus 200, then 4 minus 200, 5 and minus 200, so something like that. So this will be set, the default values would be this. Now let's see what is the next step. So first step is completed. We have generated the points for limbs. Okay, so we also need to generate the points for fin, which means tail. So let's add a line to the node, which is the fin. So I am representing tail as fin. Okay, so be sure about that. So let's say this is the tail of the fish, and now we need to do the same for the tail. So let's go that, and we will just generate the points for the tail here. So you can see here, so we are creating the points for the fin, which is the tail. And now let's see what is the other step in our uh, presentation. So you can see the other step is attach the limbs and fins at when the scene will run, which is basically when we are going to call the ready function, we need to attach them at the start of the scene. So for that, in order to attach them, I have already told you what we need to do is we need to basically set the limb left of the 0th to the body points of the 1, and limb right as well. And same for the tail. So tail of 0 should be the last second point of the body. So we are going to do that here. So for that, I have already wrote the code here, so you can see it here. And now we just need to copy this, and let's paste it here. Okay, so now, okay, we have some problem here. Let's see. Okay, so this is the line 2D, which is basically the body here. So let's set this to body, and this should be body. And also one more thing that we need to do is, if you see here, which is the fin position. So if you want to adjust the fin position later in your code, So let's create a variable for that. So export variable called as fin underscore push, and we are going to set this to as integer, and right now I'm just setting this to -2. And let me see what was that. Okay, so the fin position is 8. Okay. So we can just set it to 8. What is 8? So if you see the body here, you can see there is a 10 points, right? So if I want to add the fin, which is the tail of the fish, at the last second position, which is the 8. So that's why I'm setting the fin position to be 8 here. So hope you understand that. Now we already completed the second step, right? Now the things gets more trickier. Now if we go on to our process function here. So if I run this scene here, what you will see, let me show you. So okay, so there is some problem here. Let's see what is the problem. Out of bounds set index 0 on the vector2 array. Okay, I finally found out that. So let's set the some points. So let's set the 4. I think now it will work. Yeah, so now it will work. And now you can see that these points which are created like limb left, limb right, and fin are not attaching to the fish, right? So how we can make them move as well as when the body moves. So that's what the step 3 and 4 it is. Okay, so we will be going further for this. Let's start with here. So as you can see, this we have already done this. So we are in the expected position here. So now what we need to do is first we need to let's go on to the um, slide here. So now we have already completed the step 1. We have already attached the limbs and fins when the scene will run. Now the step 3 is we need to apply the distance constraint between each point in the limbs and fins with some angle offset. So this is the code for the left limb that I have already wrote. So we just need to apply that code into our program. So if you see in the previous video, I have already told you how the distance constraint work between each point. So basically what we do is, let me show you how does it work. So let's say this is the array of points. Let's say 0 comma 0. Let's say this should be anything. Let's say 1 comma 0 or something like 2 comma 0 or 3 comma 0. So these points have some distance that to be constrained. So let's say the distance is 10. So basically they cannot go further than 10 units, right? So that's what distance constraint mean. If you haven't watched the first video, you will not be able to understand it. So I highly recommend it to watch that video in order to understand how to apply distance constraint in your um, creature. So let's get started by using this method. So we are going to apply the distance constraint as well as angle offset. So if you see here, let me take the code snippet here from my previous by the way, you guys, you will get this code in my description here in the video description, so you can just copy paste it, or you can just open the project and see how I build it. Okay, so now you can see here. So first of all, let's create some space here. So if you see this thing, which is the constraint the left limb with the fixed angular offset. Okay, so now we need to create some variables here. So for that, let's create some variables. So limb left points is equals to limb left dot point. So basically what we are doing is we are getting the array here. So if you see the limb left, you need to get this array. So we can get the array by using this thing, right? Dot points. Okay, and now we need to do the same for the limb right. Limb I think that should be right, RT. points equals to limb right dot points. So we have applied the distance constraint in the limb left points. Okay, so if you don't know what is points here, this is basically the body points, which is this. So let me just copy this and paste it here. And after that, as you can see here, there should be a new variable which is called a limb angle. So we need to create a new variable which is called as limb angle, that if we want to change the angle later in the code, so we can directly do that. So let's create a variable called limb angle, and we are just going to set this. Okay, so this should be the float in radians. So let me just get the value that I have set it here. So this is 0.8. So we are going to set this here, right? So we finally got the limb angle as the variable. So we have applied the distance constraint with the finger angular offset. And how does it work? So let me tell you how does it work. So first of all, we basically get the direction from the body to the previous point. So body's anchor point, which is 0, and the previous point. So we are basically getting the directional vector from these 2 points. So you can see these are 2 vector points. So let me go to the body point. So these 2 are the vector points. So we are basically by subtracting them, we are going to get the body direction. Okay. And now what we are going to do with the offset direction. So we are basically taking the angle, calculating the angle offset direction by using this rotated thing. So we are basically rotating that vector that we got from this thing, and we are going to rotate with the angle that we have provided in the variable here, which is 0.8 radians. And after that, this will give us the offset. And now we need to apply the distance constraint that I have already told in the previous video. And we are just going to apply the radius, which is the distance constraint option, and this is the angle offset. And now we need to just reset the points. So that's how this thing works. So if you have any doubt, you can also contact me in the comment section, and I will respond you. Now we need to do the same for the right. So let's copy paste that as well, because if I started right, this will take a lot of time. And so we just need to go to the here and just paste it. So we finally got the right. So right for we need to get this RF. Okay, so this should be RF, and the points should be body points. Okay, let's go and set this to be body points. And so we have applied the distance constraint between these 2 points. So if I run the program now, you will never be able to see what is happening, because we are not changing anything. We just applied the offset and constraint. So if I run this scene, you can see the only thing is changing is the angle. You can see that, right? So we don't need to this. Now we need to attach when the body moves. Okay, so we need to attach them when the body moves, which is the step number 5. So we need to update the position of the limbs, fins, and tail every time we move the body. And in order to do that, there is this code, which is what we are doing basically here. If you see, so let's say this is the body, and since the body is moving, that means each point is updating its position. So what we need to do is we basically need to make our limbs anchor point to set every time this position, which is the attached position, updates its position. And how we are going to do that? So in order to do that, let's say we have 2 points, the point number A and point number B. So if this point moves, what we are going to do is we are basically moving this point A towards the point B. So every time this B point will move, the A point will move towards the B point. So that's how we are going to do here. So we are basically setting the limb left point 0, which is the anchor point of the limb, to the move towards to the body point of the 1, which I have already told you. Let's say this is the body, and these are the points here. So this is the body point of 1, and let's say we have got this limb here or tail here. Okay, let's say this is the limb here. So this point will move towards this point, right? So that's what we are going to do here. So we are just need to make them move towards, okay, for the limb and fin, which is the tail. So we just need to do that. So let's apply that in our code here. Okay, also we need to constrain the fin to the uh, our body, because fin is also a part of the thing. So let's constrain the fin as well. And this should be, what is the problem here? Okay, fin points is not declared, so let me declare the fin points. Variable fin points and equals to body dot, so not dot body, sorry, fin dot points, right? And now what we need to do is we need to update the position of each limb anchor point and fin anchor point every time we move the body. So we are going to copy this code and we are going to paste it on the top of this thing. So we are just going to paste it. Okay, so this is not PTS, this is again body points. Let's just paste it. Okay, now this should work. This should work. This should work. And this should work. Okay, and this should as well. So now you can see, so basically we are basically updating every time. We are basically updating the limb point and limb left point and limb right point every time we move the body. So the limb points and the right points are moving towards the body every time we move the body, right? And the fin point is the tail point. So tail point 0 will be moved towards the body points of fin position, which is I will already told you in this thing here. As you can see, this is the body fin position, and we are basically moving this tail 0th point to the body fin position towards. Okay, so we are basically moving this tail 0 point towards body fin position. That's how it will work, and we are basically moving the points as well when we move the body. That's what we are doing here. So I have already commented out this full code, so you can directly download this code from the description. This whole project, you can download this from the description. And also guys, I have already commented, and so you can directly know what the snippet do. So each snippet has a comment on it, so you can directly see what does each snippet do. So now if we run the scene here, so let's see what's the result. Okay, so you will be able to see that we got the fins here, right? And the points are attached, and every time we are doing this, it's just working. Now we need to customize this, right? So let's customize these points, which is my favorite part. So you need to basically click on any of these limbs and then go on to the game section by running the game. And now you can apply the width curve. So if I change up the width curve, okay, let me just run it again. You should be able to, you can see that this became more sharp edged. You can change that. So let me just change that as well. And now you can see the shape is also updating itself. You can change the shape however you want. Okay, so you can basically change the shape, something like that. If you want more thicker, you can update the width, let's say 20, and we can just make it more. And also there is one more thing that you need to do guys, which is capping. So you need to set these capping to round, so the edge should be look like rounded, right? And there is one more thing that you need to do, guys, which is select all these nodes, go into the ordering and set this to, let's say, negative of something. So they will be on the back of the fish, not on the top. If you want it on the top, you can just leave it as it is, and you can just set the shape of the body. So like right now you can see that I am setting the shape, and this is how it looks right now. So let's set the same as well here. Let's set this to 20, attach the width curve, and we will just make it something like this. So if your width curve is not updating on the game section, you need to rerun it and it will work, right? So you just need to do that. You can see now it got updated. Now what you need to do is we need to go on to capping. We need to set this to round, round, and round. And again, you need to update the shape. You can make it however you want. So let me just update this as well. Nice. So you can see we have got some good limb here. And now you can also change the color if you want. Any color you want, and again rerun it every time you update these things because they are not permanent, right? Now you can see we have changed the color of the limb. You can also add the texture if you want. I have already explained this in the previous video how you can add texture. There is an option here for the texture, so you can just you need to go on the fill. You can add a gradient, you can add a texture. So for example, if I will add a texture here, you will be able to see it. If I set this stretched and make this, you can see now we got a texture here, same as we can do here. So we can just need to go fill, and now we need to go on to texture. We need to just drag our image here, set this to stretch. Now we got the texture here. Now let's set the tail here, so you can see the tail. So let's go for the width curve first, and since we can just set this something like this, and we can make it 20. And again, guys, rerun it if the width curve is not updating on your game, right? So let me just go here. Okay, nice, it looks good. And now you need to update the gap, which is around. And if you want the texture, you can also add the texture here. Stretch. So we got the texture here. Now there is one more thing that I want you guys to know. I don't like the texture, so let's make it white. So the variables that I have created, you can access them from this by clicking on the root section of your node here. So if you see, you can see the radius. We can adjust the radius. What is the radius? The radius is the distance constraint between each of the points. So if you increase this, the points will go much more bigger. So let me show you how does it work. I have already shown this in the previous video. So you can see here the fish becomes much more larger. So you basically need to see that, right? So that's why I made it small. And now the next is fin position. So if you want your fin position to be something like start from here, your fin, fin means tail basically. So if you want your tail to be start from here, you can also do that. So let me set this to 7, and you can see it just shifted 1 point up on the body. Or maybe you can make it 6, so you will get a small tail. Or maybe you can just make it 7. That's how you can do it, right? And if you want to change the angle, if you see that this angle is very much, so basically let me show you which angle I am talking about. So let's say this is our fish and these are the angles, right? So these, if you want these angles to be much lesser, you can also do that by changing from this variable. So let's set this to 0.3. So you can see the angles become much more less. So you can increase how much you want. It's up to you guys. You can see we can make it 0.5 or maybe 0.7. So you can see that looks much weirder. Let's set this to 0.5. Nice, now it looks good, right? And guys, if you also want to change the position of the fins limbs attached to your fish, you can also change that here. As you can see, this is the position. So let's create another variable for that. So let's create @export variable, and we can set the limb position, and this should be an integer value, and by default we are going to set this to 0, not 0, 1. So you can see this is the 1, this is the limb position. So we can just paste these in here, and we have also did that somewhere here, so we need to do that. Limb position, nice. And now we can update that as well. So if I run the scene here, we can so let's go here, and we can make it something like 2. So you can see they are attached to this point, right? If I make it 3, you can see they are now much more in the section here. So you can basically customize it as you want, and that's how it will work, guys. So I hope you guys like this video. So please do subscribe to my channel, and yeah, so that's it, guys. So if you have any video idea you want to share that you want me to create the video on, you can just directly contact me on the comment section. So thanks for watching. The project link in the description, so please download it, start it on GitHub. Thanks for watching.